And now, the most trusted name in radio, Rhett Palmer, the mayor of the airwaves.
It's a new day, if you want it to be. I'm seated across from the head guy at Shift Culture. His name is David Lloyd. He's the father, CEO, president.
All of the above.
All of the above. And what's the company that you run in? Is it in Fort Pierce or Port St. Lucie?
Fort Pierce, yes. I run a couple companies, two-way radio gear and a community kind of driven company called Shift Culture.
Shift Culture.
Shift Culture.
And I keep running into that word a lot. Now, have you been a Christian all your life, or was there a time when you had an experience that you converted to Jesus?
I grew up Baptist, and at the age of 9 years old, I gave my life to the Lord, heard a message that was compelling enough, ran forward crying, and gave my life to the Lord. And then, later in life, rededicated my life. I was kind of young, but by the age of 21, I had kind of a reconnection with the Lord, and then game over at that point. I was moving forward with the Lord at that point.
Well, the age of responsibility, I think, for males is like 14, because the Jews have the bar mitzvah.
Correct.
At 14, and the girls, I think, a bat mitzvah because they mature earlier at 13. I'm not sure. Is that right?
I want to say that's right.
I think I'm right. Anyway, but so 9 years of age, and I often wonder because, there's a lot of people running around who sit in pews who actually think they've had conversion. They may call Jesus Lord, but have they really? Exactly. Is he the owner of their soul and spirit? Exactly. I know the day that I really got born again, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt. If you don't know, then I think that the Lord says, you will find me if you seek me, when you seek me with all your heart. But I want to get back to this 9-year-old. So, how cognizant can a 9-year-old be? And, of course, if you're premature, what's the word if you're, ahead of your time and wisdom? Because you seem like a pretty stable, smart guy. You've been very successful and more contemplative, right? So you probably were already thinking about things. What do you think drove you to, with sincerity, bring your heart to the front of the church?
I'd be lying if I said I remember the exact message, but I remember sitting there in the pew at 9 years old, and whatever the pastor was saying, it was definitely had my heart my heart was pumping in the pew, and then all of a sudden this overwhelming feeling of if you don't get up there, you're going to miss it. And I just started to weep, and I looked at my mom, and I said, I need to go forward. And
that's great.
She's like, okay, go forward then. And I ran up forward, gave my life to the Lord, got baptized. But like you said, was I fully cognizant of everything, fully connected to the Holy Spirit at that point? And I would probably have to say, I don't know. So my life didn't really show it afterwards, as I was a teenager. And then tragically, I lost one of my closest friends at the age of 21.
What happened?
He was playing around with a weapon and shot himself accidentally, and it just rocked everybody. And that got me.
Happens
really
more often than we realize. I know a number of people. One that shot his brother, another one in town here who became a pastor, who shot his cousin accidentally, killed him.
Yeah. And that really was a wake-up call for me. I knew that I was not living the way I was supposed to. And
at 21.
At 21, yeah. So quickly realized, it's time to...
I don't think you ever were the kind of guy that was out robbing banks or anything.
No.
But
definitely
not
everything
living for
else,
the Lord.
no, definitely not. So at that moment, I realized I need to get back into getting myself situated. So went to Morningside Church in Port St. Lucie, and got with a group of, I don't know, I guess you'd call them fanatics, who were trying to get me to come along with them. And I was like, I don't know if I'm really ready to jump all in. And next thing you know, we started a prayer house at my house and opened it up, and people started showing up, and we were just sitting there from 6 o'clock until midnight every weekend, just in the Word, praying.
Wasn't
worship.
It great that you ran into those?
Oh, yeah,
because bad companionship ruins good character, and the opposite is also true, right?
Exactly. That's exactly true.
Yeah.
So that was a real blessing, and I know the Lord was just, David, it's time to get back on course and put the right people in my place, and that's That's history.
It's funny your name is David, because I don't know about names are very important biblically, but you remind me so much of my young cousin David, who also is a prosperous businessman, very Catholic. He plays the bass, every Sunday in church and everything. I think it's Catholic, but anyway, I know he's brought up that. But
Means
anyway,
my beloved.
Means my beloved. Well, yeah, King David. And King David, it's quite a lineage. It was prophesied that the Messiah would come through the lineage of David. Because as a kid, I don't know where you're at, but I pick up the Bible and who begat who. Mm-hmm. Al begat Jim, and Jim begat Bob, and Billy Bob, and all that. And I'm going, what is all this for? Yeah. This is a big waste. And you'd close it up and not understand a thing until 29 years of age and had the filling of the Holy Spirit. I said, oh, so that's what this is all about. Right, so we would know that the Messiah came through the lineage of David. Goes back.
Yep.
But in that lineage are also prostitutes and tax collectors and some murderers. Oh, even Moses murdered, right?
David himself.
David
did some stuff that,
David sent Uriah to the front lines because he wanted to take his wife. And then the prophet comes along and says, hey, you are the man. You've been doing this. And he came to his senses and repented. I guess it was written that God said that David is a man after my heart. I never knew what that meant, but now I get it. In other words, when you find out that you're in the midst of sin and you've been blinded by it, the repentance and the contrite heart,
right?
And means you have a heart after God.
Exactly.
Come on home.
Make the right choice.
Prodigal son, right?
Exactly.
So at 21, you started jumped right in due to your friendships. That's a wonderful testimony on companionship. The companionship will change your life one way or the other.
Well, and that showed me that you need to be pursued by somebody. And the Lord was using my friends to pursue me. And through that, I now pursue others. And it's very important to me, which is where shift culture kind of really came from. It's a business centered around cars and the car community and the car culture. But ultimately, I'm there because people need to be pursued. They need to know that they're wanted, accepted. And that's pretty hard to do nowadays. There's a lot of crazy stuff out there. So, but
they said in the end times they will call that which is evil good, and that which is good evil. Exactly. And it seems those days are upon us.
Very much so.
We're in the center of it now.
That's all I see.
Yeah.
When you're out there in that.
Well, what a great thing. So you work with automobiles, I presume, antique automobiles?
Actually, no. I grew up loving antiques and classics, but I have moved into more of what they call the JDM guys, the tuner guys. I have exotic cars, supercars, things like that. So
exotic car, like give me for instance.
So I have a beautiful F8 Ferrari. I have a Ford GT. I have a Lamborghini Aventador. I have very high-end cars.
You must be making some good dough.
Or I just have a lot of debt, one of the two.
Well, you know what's good about what you're doing, though? I've never heard of anybody do this before. But, there's a lot of people. I guess they would call them up and outers up here in Vera. We have more Fortune 500 retired CEOs than any zip code in the United States of America. So there's an abundance of wealth there, lots of billionaires and certainly lots and lots and lots of millionaires. Well, people get bored. Jay Leno, what does he do? I guess I'll buy cars. What does Jerry Seinfeld do, who makes $1 billion every 4 years? Cars. And he has a show about driving around in cars. And what a great vehicle, pun intended,
exactly,
to reach the up and outer mark, because everybody wants to go to the people that are down and out, and that makes them easier because Jesus said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit; the kingdom of God belongs to them." And and a lot of us don't realize we're poor in spirit, but when you come to the knowledge of no matter what I have or don't have, I need God in my life, and that's being poor in spirit. So people tend not to preach to the up and outers, and of course, a lot of them build walls with that money or that success, and it can become impervious to hearing the word of God. Whereas you come in and have a connection, building a relationship.
I use it as a tool.
Yeah,
exactly.
And you love it.
I love it.
Yeah,
that's why I chose the name Shift Culture. So it's a play on the word. We're shifting gears.
Oh yeah.
Shifting the culture, and I use the vehicles, like you said, as a vehicle or a tool to draw the people in. And I've had people come up to me that know more about my car than I do. So it's a great way to breach the conversation, to just have a conversation.
You know what I don't understand about you guys? Now, I have that SUV out there, and it's a fairly high-end SUV. It's about maybe $70,000, let's say, or a little under. So anyway, I decided after COVID, looking around, I said, it's a good thing you bought it when you did. Otherwise, your lease payment would be $300 more a month than you're paying now. Bought it I leased it at the right time for 4 years. But also, so I was up in Vermont, near Stowe, Vermont, Burlington, and I walked into the showroom and I saw my car. It's the exact same color white, the exact same interior and everything. It's $194,000. So I'm thinking,
Wow.
Oh my God, I've really gotten poor. I can't even afford what it used to be somewhat luxury. But what I found out is people that make a lot of donors super successful, they don't necessarily do something outwardly to impress people. They want to impress themselves. And I guess it has all these highfalutin engines, and it can go, it can go 200 miles per hour, whatever it is. Yeah. Not that you're ever going to go 200 miles per hour, but But
it's knowing that you can if you want to. Yeah. And that's like you said, that they run around with the whole, I need to impress you, or I need to show you what I can do.
Yeah. Oh, I see inside their head anyway.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, what's that new car that's worth like $3 million? Bugatti?
Oh, yeah.
What's with the Bugatti thing?
Very high-end car. You got Bugattis, you have Koenigsegg's, you have Pagani's. These are all very high-end Italian, German cars that it's very much a clout thing.
Maybe if I hang out with you and learn about these things, I might draw more money.
You never know.
Oh, my word. Well, companionship.
There you go.
But
it's a circle of influence around
here. Yeah, it's simply amazing. I have a friend who has a Porsche. His wife is a New York Times bestselling author, Christian lady, 18 number ones. So they have a lot of dough. So he gets to buy what he wants to buy, and he bought a new Porsche, probably a couple $100,000. So I go all the way out to the state of Washington, and we get in it. Hey, Rhett, what do you think of this? Driving. I don't think he let me drive, by the way. Anyway, so he flicks this switch, and all of a sudden, and I'm going, you pay $200,000 for a car, and you got to press a button that feeds more oxygen into it to make that noise?
Yeah, those are called special exhaust. There's a name for it, and it doesn't hit me at the moment, but basically, you put it in a quiet mode, so if you're in your neighborhood, you don't want everybody getting all up in arms about the sound of your car.
Oh, so you can
or you can flip it into track mode or full exhaust sound, and it's another interesting add-on that you can put into your cars.
Really, there's a man who is very successful and lets people come and see a collection of over 300 muscle cars up in Melbourne,
Mm-hmm.
and it's quite extraordinary when you look at these cars. I guess he has people who have hired full time to keep them in immaculate shape, but it really is kind of very interesting. I used to have a 1928 Model A that was classic. It had original pieces and non-original. I kept it for 20 years and used it to promote the show in parades and stuff. But a lot of fun because you'd go down the street and little kids would go, "What's that? Aruga,
Exactly.
And
it draws attention.
It does, and it's a lot of fun. And what are you going to spend your dough on if you're successful? You got to get involved in something. But like I said, it's a great vehicle for connecting. What could possibly make a car, though, really, except for blind ego, $3 million for a Bugatti? What did they do? Obviously, the seats are real leather.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, probably not even, probably more like ostrich or something crazy. But
yeah.
I think the thing about Bugattis is it's definitely a status symbol, like I said. But when you look at just what it takes to change the oil on a Bugatti, you got to have some serious bankroll. It's $10,000 to do an oil change. It's just the maintenance that you have to come in every year, whether you put a mile on it or whether you put 10,000 miles on it. There's these regimented things that they make you do as a Bugatti owner. Plus, you have to be accepted. You just can't go up and buy any Bugatti.
Really? They vet you out?
Oh, you're very much vetted. Yep.
Is it Italian made? Is that Bugatti?
Yeah.
Anything the Italians touch, they do an excellent job. They're great craftsmen.
Meticulous, yeah.
Builders. Yeah, I had a friend of mine, matter of fact, he was Italian. He's no longer alive, a beautiful man who had been in the cookie company. And he pulled up with his Rolls Royce here one day. I said, "Do you mind if I sit in it?" So anyway, he told me, he said, "Yeah, I just had the oil changed and some work done. I just got it back, $31,000."
Exactly.
Obviously the oil changed $10,000, whatever else they did.
Yep.
And for those of us, it's like, what?
Yeah.
But I sat in it and I went, okay, here's the steering wheel. And it has a seat.
Still drives.
It's got a gas pedal.
Yep.
And my car will get me everywhere. This thing will.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing about having a fancy car like that is when you're young, and maybe it's the words cocky, you want to impress people, At this point of my life, being a 70-year-old man, I don't want to pull up to a red light, though, and make the guy next to me feel diminished because I'm driving a Rolls and he's driving a broken-up Chevy that with the paint's falling off, you know?
Right.
So there is, even the Lord says in the scriptures, he says, even a proud look is an abomination in the nostrils of God. Because I was driving along just this morning, I kind of felt my chest going up about something. I said, ooh, you better watch out,
Well, that's funny you say that. That's something I've always wrestled with a little bit, getting into the exotics and things that I'm into. But I think what's really connected me with people is, so having these cars, we put on car events around the county, and we'll be doing one on April 6th at Christian FM. Actually,
Wonderful.
We have a big car show coming up with Christian FM.
They are great people that,
Absolutely.
we all work together, we're on the same team.
But, I'll let anybody get in my cars and drive them.
Cool.
And they're like, why do you
I'll
do
take
that?
you up on that.
Anytime you can come by.
Cool.
I'm like, it's just a tool. It's just something that I'm using. It's not my identity. It's not who I am. It's just a thing. And
you seem like a modest guy. I always wonder about guys like you. How do you maintain? You seem humble. I interviewed Billy Graham years ago, and I always said he was the humblest man I've ever met. And I wonder. I think he probably had more humility at 22 than I do at 70. How come? Where do people get that? Do you like, for instance, you're a pretty soft-spoken guy. Maybe you had parents. I don't know what it was, or some radical hurt that maybe diminished your self-importance, or because being humble is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less often, right?
Right. There was a gentleman that when I was early in my faith, like I said, 21, 22, I was going to this church in Fort Pierce, and his name was John. He was a very small, probably 4'11" African, South African, and the man was an evangelist. He could preach, and he told me, David, one thing: learn what it is to become a good listener. Don't always speak. He said, learn what it is to become a good listener. And so I really took that on. I was very impressionable at that time, and I was like, whatever. I was watching his lifestyle and what he did, and the man moved in power, but he spoke very little. He just sat, and I used to watch him. He used to listen, and then after the conversation, he moved in, and then the man would lay hands on people, and things would happen. But very, very rarely did I hear him speak, unless he was up there actually preaching.
Well, be slow to speak, quick to listen, it says, and in a multitude of words there is sin.
Exactly.
I guess I'm going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Being a talk host.
Yeah. And then there was a scripture early on as well that it said Jesus made himself of no reputation. So I took that as, I don't need to be promoting myself. Yeah. Just do what you do what God has called you to do, and he will promote you. So those are kind of the
promotion cometh from the Lord, it says. Yeah. God hath riches without sorrows.
There you go.
Yeah. And, there was a time when I prospered, I know, and I never thought ever during that period, thought of myself as successful. Mm-hmm. I kind of thought, well, I can pay, because I don't know why. Now that I've lost a lot of it, and if I ever get it back, it's like, okay, invest. And of course it's 70, what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. You don't want a highfalutin car. But anyway, people, I find sometimes people in need can actually have more focus on money than the people who actually have it. Mm-hmm. And maybe that gets in the way somehow, because God is a jealous God. Mm-hmm. Like if you have somebody in your life, a husband or a wife who you idolize, he might end that relationship, at least when you're growing up and you're dating somebody, who's first? He said, he who doesn't put me first above wife, children, mother, father is not worthy of me.
Wow.
That's pretty heavy.
Yeah. That's definitely.
And you're a dad, right?
I am.
You have 4 children?
4 children, yep. I got 2 older girls and 2 younger boys.
Wonderful.
Not younger, 10 and 15 and 25 and 26 girls. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
They grow up quickly, don't they?
They do. And they make you really look at life differently as well. It was great. Having girls and boys has been a great balance in my life,
Well, he who finds a wife finds a good thing, so you found a wife, a good companion. Tell me about your wife, if you would.
Sure. Well, I was originally married once. I remarried 15 years ago now, 16 years ago.
Was she a Christian or not really? Or
she was. Actually, she sang in my first wedding. which is our fun story that we like to tell.
So you're still
Um,
friends.
yeah, but my wife Linda, she's a very godly woman, very focused on making sure that we stay on the straight and narrow, and very involved in her prayer life, and loves the farm life.
Oh, you have a farm.
We have a small farm out west of town.
Oh, really? What kind of animals do you have? Horses, you said?
My girls are into horses, so we have 4 horses. We have about 14 head of cattle and a bunch of babies running around right now. So it's just small enough that it really fills her love language. She loves to deal with animals, and she's got her chickens. That's her other thing. She's got her chickens. She loves to raise chickens. So
I have a friend who's a youth pastor at a Baptist church in town. He's just retired, but they were very prosperous. Both what do you call prescription people, pharmacists. So they're obvious. You have to. People don't realize, or maybe they do, that you have to be very bright. I used to work at a medical school, and they're equally as intelligent as the doctors, remembering all those chemicals. But anyway, so they prospered, and they had a brand new, beautiful home, and the Lord says, sell it. So you don't have any more payments, and they sold it. They bought a ranch out west of town, and it's not fancy schmancy, but they have the same thing with the chickens, and the stuff. But now that they don't have to be on top of a mortgage, the house is paid for. Every 2 months they go on a missionary trip somewhere.
that's awesome.
And they have 5 children that are adults.
Yeah,
So
that was another thing that talk about pivotal moments in your life. I joined an organization years ago called the CRI, Crisis Response International, and I spent a lot of time doing first responders to situations like the earthquake that happened in Haiti. That was huge, another huge role in my life of just paying it forward, and as you said, being engaged in some kind of a mission trip. Went back, and we've taken kids back over to Haiti, and it really helps ground you on how blessed we really are here, and what's going on over in third world countries and how they're living. So it's almost something that I force myself to put myself in those environments so that keeps me grounded and level.
Je suis Remy ou, je suis Remy moi. But a trip to Haiti, I'd already been to Africa, but a trip to Haiti changed my life. I didn't have much money. I was actually probably poor. And I sang at a big place over on the other side of Florida for Gerald Erskine's Christian Retreat Center. But then this Catholic lady said, why don't you guys, she has 9 children, 8 that are living, and said, well, my husband and I were going to go to Haiti and feed the hungry. Why don't you come? And I didn't have any money, so I did a little concert at a church, and this man, I said, I need help to go, if anybody. And he says, I've always hated black people, but God's given me a new heart. And I want to help send you. What do you need, son? I said, $900. She said, here's the check. So I was off to the friendly skies to Haiti. But I will say this, and I want people to know. First of all, I went to Léogâne, New Missions. That's the epicenter of the earthquake. Now, this is all pre-earthquake. I've not been back since the earthquake.
Right.
And I got into Port-au-Prince, and I just want to paint a picture. You've been there, so you know. They picked me up for the van. I'm sitting in the back. I don't know the driver who I'm with, and they're taking me here, and I'm looking out the window, and I'm feeling in my heart and my soul the peace of the Lord letting me know that He's with me. But then I look out the window, and I saw devastation. I mean, just people living in cardboard boxes, and I'm seeing people, mountains of people living in shacks. And I said, Lord, why are you giving me peace? They need your touch. But I guess when you go in His name, He's faithful to let you know I'm with you. And you're doing this in my name.
It is a little unnerving. You do feel totally out of pocket for sure, and you got to know that He sent you, because it's.
Well, you can't go back now. If you're a Blanc there, Blanc means you're white, folks. I've even asked the other Haitians, said, no, you don't want to go. No, don't go now.
Yeah, definitely. You don't want to go into Port-au-Prince, but on the Cape Haitian side, on the back side, it's a little much different.
Is it?
Yeah, on the back of the island. So
I haven't been there, I guess.
Yeah, very remote areas, and that's something that I'm very passionate about, and that's actually something that I'm going to be doing at Shift Culture this year. We actually, along with putting on events and we have a performance shop where we build a lot of the cars that I have, people want to duplicate. So we put wide body kits on cars. We make them look like a show car. And then Lord laid it on my heart through a conversation that I had a couple weeks ago with a gentleman in Fort Pierce. I'm going to raffle off one of these cars, and then all the proceeds I'm going to put into donating back to. We want to go over to Haiti and buy a piece of land and help them create sustainability, because they're so dependent on help. I want to create sustainability over there, so we'll buy a piece of land, we'll help them build crops, we'll dig a well, we'll put up a church, and I really want to get behind that.
And by the way, if anybody listening wants to help the people of Haiti, I don't know what it takes to build a house there, but the average income is $1 a day. It's actually under $1 a day. It's about $300 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So when you flippantly go out and buy a pair of shoes, that's a month's salary, if not more.
Oh, yeah.
So how much do you need to build a house there, by the way? Like $300? More? 1,000?
I don't know that answer.
Okay. I'm just wondering, because I was thinking I could mention it now and say, look, connect with New Missions or whoever you want, or connect with you. Maybe you would know how to lead people where to
I
make
work
a
with an
donation.
organization called CARFA, and
Spell it, please.
CARFA.
Okay.
And Jumi runs runs that organization. He's a pastor, and he's working with him on what we're gonna need financially to do this. So. But the interesting thing about cars is with the social media and the followers and how all that works nowadays, you can put a car out there and raffle it off, and it could go viral, and you could make a lot of money off of it. So I'm very excited about what the first. There's a lot of for-profit people out there doing that, and they raise hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I got a guy I want to introduce you to. He was in prison for 26 full years. While he was in prison, he read the Quran, memorized it, knows it inside out. He can tell you the story. Somehow he gets converted to Jesus now. So just the other night, I was in a situation with a men's group, and he doesn't have a car, and he's trying to make it back. He's been out of prison for a couple of years now, but very dedicated to the Lord. And I asked him, I said, now it's time to read the Bible and memorize it like you did the Quran,
Mm-hmm.
and such a wealth of knowledge. And so the other night, I made mention, without standing up, but we have somebody here who, I'm not going to say who it is that needs a car. And I just thought I'd say it. I told him I'd try to help him get a car, but I don't have the means to do that. That was a couple of months ago. And sure enough, at the end of it, this young man comes up and says, we were just about to fix this old car up and sell it to a group of us, whatever group that is, and said we'd like to give him the car. It's going to change that man's life, so he
Absolutely.
can. Yeah, and he comes from a well-to-do African American family who then lost it all, and he also took a lot of hard hits in life because I think like a malformed hand or something, and how people are, and kids can be mean to somebody like that. So anyway, I just thought you'd like to hear that story. Yeah. I love it. There's another girl in town here who used to live. She used to live in a what do you call where you put your tool shed. And forgive me for saying this, but she said, I used to pee in a bucket, and I lived like that, and she was addicted to alcohol. Well, she had a miraculous encounter with Jesus.
Wow.
And, she's been sober, I don't know, years and years now, maybe 20 years, but a group in town here, she opens up the garage one day, there's a new car.
Wow.
Yeah, people are
that
kind.
is life-changing to people.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love those stories.
Me too.
And that's also... I get a lot of people approach me. Hey, can you use this? Absolutely, we'll fix it up. We'll get it drivable. We'll put tires on. I've shown up. I've had people call me up and say, David, my tire blew. My daughter needs it. We're losing our house. Can you do anything? Absolutely. That's I'll run down there, buy 4 new tires.
Well, I shouldn't let you say that on the
air. Yeah.
Oh my God! Yeah. Ring a ding a ding. Rhett, I'm never coming on your show again. But hopefully people will only approach you who really need it. Otherwise, You're taking it away from somebody who does really need it.
Exactly. This was actually somebody that comes to our events, so I'd had the chance to build a relationship with them, which is very important. I don't do it just
all
for
about relationship.
Exactly.
And that's what's great about what you're doing with shift culture. What a wonderful idea. I got to put you together, too, with the guy that sold the Hornets. He was a poor boy growing up in, I guess, the Carolinas.
Mm-hmm.
And years ago, I have his phone number. I'm trying to remember his name now. John, what is his name? But anyway, he sold the Hornets for $300 million. So here's this little country boy that did well, and now he's like you. So I got to introduce you. You know, a lot of these garages are going up in Vero Beach, where people will pay $250,000 or $500,000 a part of a building just to store their cars.
Yeah. Man caves, auto vaults. There's all kinds of names for them going around, but I've been a part of multiple of those, and they're incredible. There's one down in West Palm that I was privileged to go visit, and it's these wealthy people have all this discretionary money they have to do something with, and I've seen they'll spend $1 million just building out the inside of their car collection, where they store their car collection. It's amazing what they spend money on.
And people want to point the finger. Be careful, because these people who have so much, they give away a lot of what they have.
Yep.
And so if you might think it's self-indulgent, well, you know, there is reward
Good point.
for working hard. And so
Absolutely.
Be careful before you castigate somebody for having $1 million car when, in fact, they're probably giving away tens of millions annually. So,
Exactly.
you know, and
That's very true.
look, the Bible says, a man shall enjoy the fruit of his labor. I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in good health, even as thy soul prospers. So if your soul's prospering, the Lord wants to add wealth without sorrow. He said, the Lord addeth wealth without sorrow. We've all seen people who get wealth and it ruins their life, like lottery winners, you know.
Right.
So somebody just won $1.2 million in the lot. 1.2
billion. Yeah.
That's enough to ruin a life for sure.
That's why I don't do that.
Oh my word!
I don't want fame or money.
No thanks.
Both of those things are. I haven't seen a really good track record of anybody doing really well with any of that.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had met some pretty famous people doing the show for 29 years, and it's like, wow, you know, like I remember one time I was interviewing President Ford. Now I was in the same hotel, so I came down that night. He's eating by himself, but they cleared out half the dining room. He's all by himself reading the New York Times, and I looked over and I went, you know, and I said, oh my God, you never get to not be president once you've been president.
Yeah.
You know, I got to go to the bathroom. Okay, we got to go clear it and check it out, Mr. President. What? You know, I mean, even our presidents, you know, who no matter who, Obama, Trump, whoever may be in office, do you know it's $800 million a year just for the Secret Service for the president alone, not including his family. And then you've got senators and congressmen and all this other stuff going down.
Yeah, I had no idea.
My word. You know, Abraham Lincoln went to Gettysburg on the train by himself, got off by himself, and
How times have changed.
yeah. So this is very exciting. Yeah. So I mean, this will certainly get the ear of a lot of people.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about growing community, about growing the culture, and you know, we've seen. I'm probably a year and a half into our events now, and it has been growing and growing and growing.
So this is fairly new.
Yeah, I started Shift Culture about 2.5 years ago.
Oh, really?
And then started putting on events about a year and a half ago. So.
What brought this about? You had these cars, you decided you needed to do something with them, or?
Exactly. So some of my church buddies got together and we're like, you know what? We're driving everywhere. We drag race, we drift race, we have drift cars, we professionally race as well, or amateur racing. You know, we should start something here locally. We're going everywhere. So there used to be a great car show in Fort Pierce years ago, but it takes a lot to run these events, and it takes money to run them. And most people are doing them for free. And I said, well, let's charge so that I can get the police out there, I can get the road shut down, the permits, whatever's necessary to create a safe environment where people can bring their vehicles. I was really adamant about spanning all the different cultures, so our car genres, so from the antique to the classic to the tuner to the exotic.
What's a tuner?
Tuner's going to be somebody out there running around with a Toyota or a Nissan.
Or like a low rider.
Or a low rider, yeah.
You know, what would you drive if you didn't? Like, I'm a conservative, traditional guy. I have a traditional striped blue shirt on today with khaki pants. Okay, I like tradition. So it's kind of, but sometimes I look at a guy going by with a car, a lowrider. It's at night, and they got these cool green lights underneath it. And I was thinking, if I wasn't embarrassed and had my pride, what would I drive? If you could, you know what I mean? It would be an awful lot of fun to have a dude bob.
A little thump in the back, a little underglow on there.
You know, it's like, who comes up with this stuff? By the way, what does it take to when they see the cars go up, and they go up in the air, and then they come down, and then they go low rider right down like an inch above the ground. What is that? What is the expense, and what is the process?
That's a hydraulic system, and one of our members has a beautiful '64 Nova that's hydraulics on it, '63, I think. And
We had one, my mom,
did she?
in '63.
Oh yeah, and it's a blast. And we bring it out at all of our parades. We had Santa Claus in it this year, and we were going down Main Street. Convertible, and he had it all up on 3 wheels. And
My mom had a white one with red interior. What's this one?
this is black with red interior.
Okay.
Yeah, gorgeous car.
Yeah.
And but it's a lot to maintain them. The seals and the pressure that these hydraulics do to make these cars bounce and go up on 3 wheels is
Probably pretty dang expensive, right?
It's not cheap. It's not
So, I mean, people spending money on wheels. I put special wheels on this only because I used to have a travel van, and I mistakenly got a travel van years ago, and it had, I think it was wide wheels. I've either gone too high or I've gone too wide, one or the other, and it was so smooth. But in order to accommodate these big tires, I had to get those wheels. I didn't realize wheels were so expensive, and you'll get a kid in high school who puts $5,000 wheels on his car. First of all, where does a kid get that kind of money?
Yeah, I think that you wonder why so many people show up to these events. It shows people's creativity and what they're passionate about. But the artwork that goes into these, I've had cars show up that they look like they shouldn't be even on the road, but they actually built them that way. They look like they're rusted and patinaed on purpose. They're trying to get a certain image, and it's just very diverse, and it's a lot of fun to see.
You know what's good about what you do is I'm kind of muscle card out for now, and I've had speaking engagement. They asked me to come and speak and stuff like that for the community, but I think this is a whole new take. This obviously has my curiosity. I didn't even know you were out there doing this. I'd like to go because it's not muscle cars. It's a whole different genre.
Right. You see everything from muscle cars, like you said, to the JDMs, to the lowriders. There's a whole organization that just specializes in lowrider trucks. So we'll have 10 to 20 trucks come out there that are just, the paint jobs on them are incredible.
Do you, I got so many questions. They flood my head. My head's being flooded with questions. Do you rent space for like purveyors or at these events? Yeah, vendors, yeah.
Absolutely. So we do our main event that we do 2 events every month. We do one in downtown Fort Pierce.
Every month?
Every month. Called Street Dreams.
Oh, so you were what was going on recently when I couldn't go downtown at night.
That's probably me, yeah.
Yeah, Michael wanted to take me downtown.
Oh, did he? Oh,
yeah.
So we block off the whole downtown Fort Pierce area, and we throw a huge car event down there where families can come out, kids, it's a safe environment, and the restaurants get involved, and it's just a really good time. I bring a DJ down. We get people line dancing in the street.
Really?
It's a blast.
Oh, cool.
It's a blast. And then I run a Cars and Coffee event called Treasure Coast Cars and Coffee.
A Cars and Coffee event.
That's
now, you do watch Jerry Seinfeld's show, I hope.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I've actually been down in West Palm and seen one of the garages that he stores his cars at.
Oh, yeah.
Got a chance to see his cars. But that's a morning event. We hold that the last Sunday of every month at the Indian River.
The which one?
Cars and
Coffee?
Cars and Coffee.
And so what does that mean, Cars and Coffee?
Exactly that.
What do you do?
We have vendors, sponsors. We run a swap shop down there. We have 200 to 300 cars show up.
What's a swap shop?
So swap shop is going to be, say you have car parts that have been sitting around in your garage forever.
Okay.
Tires, or you have arts and crafts. We really
So you might have a muffler that I need, and I have a tire
you
or
never
unit
know.
or whatever.
Some of these guys hold
swap
on to
shop.
things, and they're like, I need to find a place to sell this, and so they bring it out. And then we have food trucks. We have live music going on, and again, we routinely do it every month so that people know that they can depend that there is a place that they can go and show off their car and to find the same community they interact with. So it's a great networking event. So we have a lot of fun with that, and we do that the last Sunday of every month in Port St. Lucie.
Because I was just thinking, if you talked about vendors, wouldn't it be nice to have maybe there's a fellow that was in here. You probably know him. He's from down South Florida, but they put up a little like a little, what do you call it, a little, not shack, but a display, a little tent. And they do you need prayer for anything?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know who that is, but people stop. It's a great vehicle. Instead of pushing Jesus on people, you just say, do you need, And we're all going through I remember one time I heard a preacher say, everybody in this room in the next month will probably cry at least once. And it's like, everybody with their egos go, is that me? And you think about it, we all go through the valleys, we all go through the peaks.
So you hit on something very important that's very, very dear to me, and that is you have to be a part of something. You have to, I call it, you can't be a poser. You can't go into the car community and just buy a car and think you're going to immediately network or interact with somebody. They're going to know if you're the true and the real deal or not. And so that is what I am trying to do.
So you can't feign a love for the cars.
No, you can't. It shows.
Yeah.
People know that if you're real or fake. And if I'm ever going to get through to you, I've got to know your story. And the only way I get to know your story is by building a relationship with you. And that is what we do at these events. I am there to build a relationship with you. And then eventually you're going to trust me enough to open up to me so that I can really start to share wisdom or sow into you or talk to you about the Lord. And we have Jody and Chris who come out, and they're a great couple. They're a husband and wife team, and they do exactly that. I said, they wanted to come out and set up a tent. I said, as long as it doesn't have a church name on it, I just wanted to say, you need prayer. That's all you can say. You need prayer, and they are there every month.
Really? Isn't that wonderful?
And they pray with people all the time, and it's awesome.
That's a great vehicle too. I learned from a friend recently was if a waitress comes, instead of jumping on her about Jesus, just say, by the way, we're going to pray over our food. Is there anything you'd like us to pray for?
Sure.
And do it, and
And that's what they do.
Sometimes they break down crying.
Yeah. Well, they'll put out water and snacks, and people, that's free. Yeah, absolutely. Come up.
That's
free.
great.
Take it. Is there anything I could pray with you about? And that just opens the door.
So 21 years of age is when you had a real conversion to Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And that's from hanging around with the right people.
Mm-hmm.
They had was this in college or?
No, I was already out. I went to Bible college for a few years, but it was right, actually, before I went to Bible college, obviously, that's when I found the Lord. And we just, like I said, they just pursued me and really showed me what the love of Jesus looked like. And I was pretty broken at that time, and they spent the time, they built.
Do you want to tell me why you were broken?
Sure. At the age of 11, my parents divorced, and I was pretty much left to figure life out without a father figure.
Devastating.
It's hard, and which is why I'm passionate about men's ministry and working with the youth, and because there's so many fatherless people.
My father was killed in a car accident the day before my 5th birthday, so I know that well.
Yeah, that's tough.
A lot of us out there.
Yep. And so I came into, and the Lord knew it. I had a lot of baggage that I was carrying along with me, and they pursued me and showed me the truth, and man, that was such a release when I let that all go, and really I just broke down, and I was so thankful that the Lord never gave up on me,
Yeah.
and that my friends never gave up on me.
Isn't it amazing what a simple act of kindness or dignity can do for you? I remember going to this chapel in town. They have the Easter services.
Mm-hmm.
And one time I was there, and I have no idea. I didn't know this big, man, looks like just a great guy. I don't know. We were talking briefly, but he came over and put his hand on my shoulder and talking to me. And it felt so nice to have an older guy, kind of like, no matter how old you are, it's still, we need each other's companionship. And the difference you can make, people, a little kindness can make them melt or take their stony heart and give them the heart of flesh, and then they'll be willing to maybe receive our Lord. So,
Amen. And I was a little concerned. I won't lie to you. I mean, when we started Shift Culture and we were putting on events, it's predominantly 25 to 35-year-olds, and I'm a 54-year-old guy. How do I connect with them other than obviously the cars? But you just said it. It's like when that gentleman came and put his hand on your shoulder, they're looking for that person that just isn't going to judge them, that is going to show love to them and not try and compete with them on their level. I'm there just to be the face of Jesus and to just listen and talk to him and share wisdom with them. And that has been paying off. I've had more people just ask me, how did you get where you got? And that just opens up opportunities for me to share with them.
I'm into this dignity thing now, and actually writing a book about it. It's like when you hold the door open. Oh, well, first of all, let's start off with a kid. I go into, and this happened recently. I'm going into a store, and this young man, little African American child, he holds the door open for me, and I said, "Well, you're a gentleman and a scholar." Well, you can see the big smile, and then that child wants to live up to that. Children are going to get attention one way or the other. If they do something negative, even if you're talking about them, you could be yelling at them, "Oh, I'm getting attention," or doing good, and then they're going to want to do more of it. Also, the moment that you hold the door open at the post office for somebody, okay, they're going to be in front of you in line. Everybody's trying to put themselves first these days. First of all, it's a good exercise on your tempering your spirit.
100%.
But the moment you give dignity, even if they don't thank you, doesn't matter. You have just given yourself dignity. When we give it, you immediately get it back. You've dignified yourself. So I think that we could use some dignity in today's world with everybody, no matter what your political views, no matter what your religious views. You know, just like people thinking who maybe have alternative lifestyles that we consider sin. Well, Jesus certainly wants us to give everybody dignity and love. Amen. Not running around thinking we don't love you. You are loved, but you got to call sin. You know,
absolutely. It doesn't mean that I'm accepting the sin, but I do want to get to know you.
Yeah, just like God accepts us where we're still unclean.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
This is totally cool what you're doing, though. So shift culture. Now, by the way, in case you just tuned in, we're talking with David Lloyd, Shift Culture, and has a business. It's a two-way radio business.
Yep.
And God has prospered you, and so you ended up having these fancy schmancy cars. What category do they go into? What's the category again?
Oh, we call them exotics or supercars. It didn't start out that way. It started out, I bought a Corvette back in 2016, and
convertible.
Nope, hardtop. It was but that was a hard purchase for me because my whole life I'd been very conservative about saving money and paying things off and sowing back into the ministry, whether that's through supporting missionaries or what have you. And I really struggled with making that first purchase because
it felt self-indulgent.
It did. It felt a little bit that way. But that turned into
a ministry.
It
really?
It did.
An undercover ministry.
And that moved into other muscle cars. And then I migrated from muscle cars to supercars and exotics. And but two-way radio gear is my joy because that started out back in 2003. And, been a long time since I've been in the two-way business, and I can't tell you how, without throwing out crazy numbers, we're one of the largest e-commerce two-way radio dealers in the country, recognized by Motorola, and I get brought into a lot of roundtable discussions about the direction of what we're doing with two-way radios, just because of how successful we've been in the business.
Okay, I'm curious. Why do we still need two-way radios when we have all these cell phones?
So, cell phones is a monthly bill. Where once you buy a two-way radio, you don't pay for the service.
Oh, you don't.
No. So as long as you
airwaves are free.
They are. If it's as long as the surroundings, the radio is strong enough to get you the coverage that you want.
So you're selling to let's say municipal police officers. You're selling the city a vehicle that they can use to communicate, and there's no monthly charge.
Well, that's a little different. That's when you're hitting repeater towers and things like that, where you have to transmit over large areas, like the police departments. They need to be able to go.
Oh, so there is a fee for that.
There is.
Okay.
But I primarily deal with like your school system. Like I'll give a janitor a radio, the head of school a radio, and they communicate within the confinements of the school. And that's usually strong enough to do without, needing repeaters or towers or anything like that.
Now, have they gotten smaller? Because when I think of my first cell phone was a Motorola, which, by the way, I liked. It was a flip phone. Mm-hmm. And when you flipped it, you knew you were off. Instead of now you call somebody and they accidentally call you back and go, "What's that tinkle, tinkle, tinkle on?" Yeah. I don't want to hear this. You know what I mean?
Little butt dial going on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, really. So It's like, that's great with Motorola, but so I guess I'm curious, I'm trying to figure out in my mind what this looks like today. Because I remember when I was a kid, you get into a taxi cab, they had a Motorola. You get into a police car, which didn't happen to me, thank God.
Those are all mobile radios. That's different than like a handheld. So when you walk into a restaurant, you see somebody wearing a little earpiece and a small little radio. That's what I do.
The president's about to enter.
There you go.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I got to supply when Trump was doing his rallies. I was supplying their rally teams with their radios. So.
Did you really? Did you get a chance to meet him?
No.
Oh, I would like to interview him. Yeah. I'd like to say, could you please just I will be your best friend. I am. I was the first one in this town to get behind him. I mean, and a lot of people now are Trumpsters. They were so resistant. Oh, yeah. So I feel very proud, and so he should give me an audience.
You never know.
He likes cars. But I would be honest with him and say, I want to be your friend, but you got to put a guard at your mouth because people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. Now, we overlook that because a lot of, I think, left-wingers think, how can you possibly get behind that guy? Because they're all with emotions. And I understand right where they're coming from. But because, like, I interviewed General Colin Powell. And to this day, I don't know why, the day after General Colin Powell, and, I believe I've become friends with people I interview, the day after General Colin Powell dies, who I think was a great man, he's saying something castigating his reputation, which you don't do. Donald, you don't do that. I have my worst enemy in this town died. I'm not going to speak ill of that person. Probably never, because they can't defend themselves. It's against the code. Yeah. And so Donald has some sort of I think this is my surmise, some sort of a hurt little boy. And that's why I think women still voted for him. They know, women know. They know a lot of stuff. And they have intuitions, and they see, and they know the male ego, and they still love us anyway, which is kind of cool that God did that.
That's true.
And so I think he was hurt or something because he's the kind of guy, he's your best friend. But if you throw a pebble at him, you're gonna
rock's coming
he's
back.
Gonna get dynamite.
Something bigger is coming back for sure.
But then he does reconnect with people, like that lady who was hard on him in the debate, and now he goes on her show, and all is forgiven. And to have that strength of character and that thick skin, but the common person, hears somebody. I remember long ago I used to sing at a little Quality Inn when I was in my early 20s. Singing Bob Dylan songs and James Taylor songs and Neil Young and the waitress there. I know she said in upstate New York. She said, "People don't care how much you know till they know how much you care." You got to show that side,
Yeah, he's done incredible things.
Yeah.
I try not to get into too much.
No, we don't want to get. We don't, especially on this show. No, we don't want to do that because it's on WCNO, and I've been told keep it away from the politics, and that's really a very pleasurable thing to do, to stay away from politics. We can talk about, I suppose, politicians, but I don't think we should castigate any spirits because everybody is redeemable.
Absolutely.
I remember one time I was thinking something about somebody or something, and I opened up the Bible and said, it essentially said, I hope I find it again, and I can commit it to memory, but something about like, don't judge them because you have seen God, they have not. And I'm going, well, I haven't seen God, but in a sense, yes, I have. He's touched me. I've had a miraculous encounter. I know that he exists. So essentially, yes, he's a spirit, not a flesh, and I have seen God. And so to judge others, no matter how bad they are, whether they're in prison or not,
Yeah. Like Billy Graham said, you don't see the wind, but you see the effects of the wind,
Oh, so listen. So remember, I was telling you about Billy Graham, and so I told the Lord, I said, if you don't give me Billy Graham, I don't believe you've been in my life.
Wow.
And I'm an orphan, and he says that he's a father to the orphan. So no, come on now, you promise. I pray. God's going, oy vey, I gotta help this goyim out here. What are you gonna do? So anyway, so I get to meet Billy Graham, and I always wondered about his humility. So I figure, what the heck happened? And I'm about to ask him. When he does interrupt me because I brought up the word humility, thinking, I was going to ask him about his humility. And I never got to go any further because he didn't mean to cut me off at the pass, but I said, well, let's talk about humility. And he leans into me. We're alone in a room, and he goes, Rhett, if we're talking about humility, we haven't got it. Boom. So I never got to ask him.
Right there.
Because I did get to interview his daughter after he died. We spent about an hour and a half together, but it's like, well, I wonder what happened to him. to give him that death blow. Because I'd heard, I don't even know if this is, I was told years ago, he said, if you get a calling, you're going to get the death blow and you're going to be reduced. And so the only thing I can surmise is that he loved a girl in high school and she decided she didn't want to be married to a preacher. And so, of course, he found better. Ruth was like the perfect match for him on this earth. I mean, they did accomplish so much together, and she put up with all that traveling. That was his only regret at the end. Of course, they didn't get to be with the children more often,
Yeah.
Quite a sacrifice to save the world, but that guy just
It had to be amazing interviewing him.
Yeah, I mean, what happened is, the Lord, I got favored with his publicity agent. We were at Jeb Bush's inauguration, and I'm running through the field to get over there, and he comes downstairs at the a hotel, and we're down where the maids are, because that way nobody's going to go down there. It's hidden. So he pulls up in a car. He's in the front seat. He won't drive in a back seat, and he won't drive in a limo. So I think he's maybe 91 at the time. So here I go out there. I open up the door, and Billy Graham's holding on to me, and I'm helping Billy Graham get out of his car. Going, it's like the Forrest Gump. My name's Forrest Gump. I just always get the favor here. So we go inside the door, and all these maids are there. Well, they know who he is, and they start crying.
Oh, wow.
Oh, God is walking in here or something.
Wow.
Totally. It was really kind of cool, and he's just and remember I said I didn't have a dad, and you can relate to this. So at the beginning, he leans into me, and he goes, "Are you okay?" I said, "What's the matter? What's the matter?" He said, "Well, your face is awfully red." I said, "Well, it's a cold, blustery day here in Tallahassee. We're not used to that being a Floridian." And by the way, he used to live in Vero Beach. I don't know if you know that. He had a place here, years ago. But anyway, he did it with such kindness. I can't explain it. The whole time I was with him, looked me square in the eye. There was no agenda. He was not there to puff himself up. He was not there to do anything. He was not there to find fault with me or anyone else. He just was totally there in the moment for me and for my audience. And, what's his name? Bill Clinton said at his darkest hour, when he had that affair with Monica Lewinsky and all the press is on him. Of course, I always go for the loser. I always go for the kid that nobody liked in school. I always want to take them in. So at this time, I'm praying, please help Bill. I may not have voted for him, but please help Bill Clinton because nobody's all bad. And whatever happened, it happened. And I said, he's got to be thinking about suicide because at that moment, you got to just keep walking. You don't want to take solve a temporary problem with an eternal solution like suicide.
Right.
So I'm thinking he's got to be thinking about suicide anyway. So I found out later on that Billy Graham goes and sees Bill Clinton during this darkest hour, and he said when Dr. Graham came to see him, he said he didn't speak at me, he spoke with me.
Wow, relationship right there.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
And something we can all learn from. You get people yelling at people. I saw somebody castigated, shamed in front of a group recently, and I was going to go up to right then I wanted to raise my hand and say something. I said, well, if you shame him for shaming him, then you're doing the same thing he's doing in front of this crowd. So I made sure I was friendly. I haven't broached the subject with him yet, but I did go over to the young man that was shamed in front of the public later on. I said, hey, don't worry about it. We all make mistakes, and you just move. I wanted him to know that I put my hand on his shoulders. I would have liked someone who was older do that to me at one time. So anyway,
kind of like the story of Jesus drawing the line in the sand, or drawing in the sand. With the lady.
Caught in adultery.
Yeah, exactly.
And he said, "This sin." Anybody here, you can throw. They're trying to catch him. Well, Moses said we can sin an adulterer. He says, okay, you're trying to catch me. Okay, you can kill her. You can kill her, but let the first stone come from the man standing here who's not guilty of this sin. Right. And they all dropped their rocks and went home.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Where are your accusers? I don't know, sir. They've left. Well, neither do I accuse you. Go and sin no more. What a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful story.
Sounds like that's what Billy did.
Now, look, we're talking with David Lloyd, Shift Culture, which is he has a bunch of people that get together with these exotic cars, and they have meetings. He also is, of course, the owner of Two-Way Radio Gear. If people want to, do you have a website for Shift Culture? So we have car enthusiasts that are listening.
Absolutely.
You're going to want to, this is not muscle cars, man. You went through that period, but this is exotic cars.
We have quite an array of different cars for sure, but they can find me on the website at shiftculture.co. That's SHIFT culture CURLTURE.co. We're we do a lot of media work on Instagram, and you can find us at Shift Culture Official on Instagram or Facebook.
We have one more minute. Did I not broach any subject about cars or what you're doing that you might want to say something?
Wow. No, I think we've had a good conversation. I do want to just, again, highlight the April 6th event going on at Christian FM over at Central Assembly. This is going to be their first car show, and we've gotten behind them to really help them try and make this event a really big win for them on their first one out. So definitely want to come out April 6th.
Well, they're my competition, but I would tell you this at my darkest hour. The head guy there who oversees 250 stations came and helped me.
There you go.
Yeah, and I go, well, you're helping your competition, John. He goes, no. He says, you made something out of nothing here, Rhett, and he wanted to help me. Love. Not only that, he brought me a gift card.
There you go. Last thing, this Sunday is Easter, so obviously most people are going to be at church, but it happens to land on the last Sunday of the month, which is when we do our Cars and Coffee out in Port St. Lucie. But we will be holding a service, and we'll be doing the car event out there.
Again, the website?
Shiftculture.co.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Rhett. Appreciate it.